Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. It's time for us to get in and look at what's happening for the rest of the month of April. So, this is going to be that kind of broader look on everything. We'll do the soulmate version of this tomorrow, where we kind of zoom in on that piece. This one looks at your broader life, and we may have some of that same phenomenon come up where we've seen in the past where some of the soulmate stuff starts to show up here, but it's for some of you that's a big part of your life, so it's not necessarily surprising. We'll just get in there and take a look to see what wants to come out as we get into the second half of the month. So as always, it's a general reading for the collective. Isn't going to resonate with everybody. It really shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it's you, if it's your story, then go ahead and hop on. Please feel free to subscribe and maybe take a look at some of the other messages that have come out in the past. Also, it might not be a bad idea to take a look at what happened at the beginning of April. But what happened essentially was things were opening up for you, and there was a lot of positivity in the reading that we had for the first portion of April, and so I did that one on the last day of March, I think, and it was like I said, it was really positive. It was what you wish it would look like. It was very positive. So we're going to get in and see. We see how it's playing out during the course across the course of the month. It has been a little bit wild, definitely not always comfortable, but a lot has happened. We've had a lot of movement in the energy, a lot of things happening for everyone. So let's go ahead and get an energetic backdrop for the second portion of the month or for the rest of the month. Some of this may already be in play just because a lot of times the energy is, it's fluid. It kind of flows in and out. And so the things that we see may already have kind of been started. So we've got the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups coming out. This is really about the flow of emotion, but it's also about togetherness. So it's in the northern hemisphere, it's springtime, and you're seeing maybe some more opportunity for people to get together outside to do nice things because the weather is starting to warm up. So it's got a little bit of that feel to it, but I don't necessarily feel like it has to be outside. There's just that feeling of newness and happiness in the air. Definite sense of not having that day to day balance. Something is really kind of off for you right now. And it's not necessarily bad. It is full of learning. It has you figuring out where those walls have come down already, what sort of healing you've started to do, and what. Remember, we saw in the previous readings that were coming up that you had some things coming your way that were going to be enabled. You were going to be enabled to handle these things a little bit better because of your experiences that you had already had. So getting to these crossroads, it was going to be better, but it was not necessarily going to be easy. That's kind of where you may find yourself now. So there are decisions that you're feeling like you need to make. That situation that you've been in, a lot of you have had that soulmate situation. If that's you, then this is that coming up here in this broader, more general reading. But that has really put you in a position to do things differently in this overall situation. You know yourself better now, and as you're coming to these crossroads and these decisions that have to be made, you're figuring out what you're made of. You're figuring out who you are, where you have already made up a lot of ground. Um, you have choices that you're making and a lot of decisions that you're coming to. You're figuring out here, these cards almost have a similar sort of feel to them. So the Eight of Coins in reverse and the Page of Coins in reverse. This Eight of Coins in reverse is really talking about not having all of the the ability to handle your emotions and to process your emotions the way you'd like. We talked about in some of the previous readings that adult tantrum concept, where it's just like a tantrum with a young child, except that you have these different expectations of yourself. Either in either situation, it has to do with not being sure how to handle the emotions and having them come out in some way that later on you might look at it and not be very proud of yourself. That's the same sort of feeling that's coming with this. You're figuring out where the edges are for you, because everybody has limitations in what they're able to handle without having a tantrum, essentially, and tantrum is a word that is typically associated with something petty or something that doesn't make very much sense, but that's not truly what's going on. It's really about not being emotionally capable of handling it and having it come out in a way that you would ultimately find to be awkward. So the Page of Coins, though, is about learning a lesson and about figuring out which lessons you haven't learned, or more accurately, figuring out which portions of lessons you still need to work on, because that's another thing that's been coming out in a lot of these readings. It's not so much, hey, you have this entire big giant lesson to learn, as much as it is, here's a piece of something, a lesson that maybe you've seen before, but you haven't had the opportunity, or you haven't finished learning it. Look for this lesson to be around appreciation of what you have accomplished and what you haven't accomplished. If you're able to look both up the mountain to see how far you have to go, as well as back down to see how far you've come, that sort of perspective is going to take you far. So this Seven of Coins is a little bit like a bucket with a hole in it, so it can never really be filled because it's always got something coming out the bottom. And that's because that hole can be patched by the perspective of realizing where you are. You won't be doubting yourself or pulling yourself down quite as much if you're also acknowledging how far you've come. And one of the things to realize here is you're kind of in the middle of working through something, a lot of you, that is kind of challenging, and an issue that's been with you for a long time. In most cases, and we've seen it pop up in these readings over and over, but it still feels like it even as I'm reading it here today. It feels like in most cases there's an abandonment issue, a betrayal, rejection sort of issue that's gone on. For some people, there's a work component to it, and not necessarily just because it's maybe somebody they're dealing with at work, but it has to do with their overall career and how they feel about things. So we've got the Two of Cups that comes out in the reverse, and the Temperance that comes out in the upright. The Temperance speaks to the kind of a return of balance. And it's a big level of balance. It's a very important level of balance. However, it is balance in the face of still having some conflict and an issue with a partnership. An issue with a partnership that may not be a primary partnership, but is still an incredibly important one. Could be somebody at work who, it isn't your manager, it isn't somebody who works for you, but it's still really important because it's somebody that you're supposed to partner with, or someone in your family that you're planning something with, and things are not going well. Your balance in this is going to be incredibly helpful as you move through that. So that's kind of the energetic backdrop. Let's look at the outlook for the rest of April now. This is more of that, what do you need to know about what's coming for the rest of the month? What are those highlights? um, and just kind of what do you need to be aware of? That's usually the best thing, because you never know what's coming. That's always going to be a surprise. It's always going to have impact from other people's free will, from your own free will. So this is getting down to business, and you guys will have noticed the first half of April was pretty much getting down to business already. Remember that full moon, we had the opportunity to get in and start thinking about solving some long-term dilemmas, the sort of thing that you see popping up over here with the Five of Coins in reverse. Long-standing issues, even the Seven of Coins in reverse, the Eight of Coins in reverse, Page of Coins in reverse. Lessons that haven't quite been learned, and you have to balance them against the lessons that have. So that's the Nine of Wands in reverse. That is walls that you're no longer guarding. There is progress here, even as much as there's still some imbalance. And you're all in. I mean, when I look at this, so the Devil card has come out as far as the outlook for the rest of April. This is facing what you need to face. That is what that is. So the Devil card talks about something that controls you. When it takes center stage like this, it's like it's on. You're ready to engage. You're ready to This is going to be some person or some element in your life that you don't have as much control over, as you would like to. And it's time for you to not walk around and like skirt it anymore, but to actively engage this. So that's exciting. Let's see what's happening. It does bring you some of this. So the Two of Coins in reverse talks about this day-to-day balance. You've got a Four of Wands, which is a happy new beginning, but it's also a very stable and reasonable thing. Very happy, very you can feel comfortable in this Four of Wands kind of energy. It's like if you're trying to buy a house right now and you're signing the contract. It has exactly that feel to it. It also, you've got this feel of the Ten of Cups. So the Ten of Cups is that this is a chance to show whether you've learned to yourself, to show whether you've learned the lessons in discernment that we've been seeing coming out. Okay. We've seen that there is a need for you to identify what it is that you truly want and you truly love. And that's something that changes across your life. So, what you feel like you truly need now may be a little different from what it was just a few years ago. But then you look in here and you've got the Ten of Cups, and that's like something that's too good to be true. And you have to ascertain what to do about it. So there are all sorts of responses you can have. You've definitely seen people run away when they see something that's too good to be true. You're now going to find out what it takes to engage it, and you're going to figure out what it is that sits in the position of this devil. Is it a drug? Is it obsessive thinking type of control? Is it a person? Is it a circumstance? Somebody in your family, somebody at work? There is definitely something here that stands to shift. One of the things that I don't really see yet is the moving of the energy, but it's almost implied with this over here. That's not something that sits in one place. Be interested to see what else comes out for this. So we've got the Hermit. Definitely some thinking for you on your part, but it's not necessarily the sort of hermit experience you've been having here recently. It means you're going to miss some things socially, or you're going to feel disinclined to do some things socially that maybe you have felt like you wanted to do in the past, and something's going to no longer appeal to you, and it's going to be something that you notice. But you'll have more success going into your thinking cave than what you have had in the last time or two, where you've gone in there and maybe not had all of the wisdom come to you that you were hoping for. It's going to come to you a little bit more quickly, and that's going to help you also to be able to look down the mountain and see how far you've come. You've got the Queen of Coins here, which is a fabulous energy. This is absolutely something that you want near you, and to be a part of you as you're moving through the second part of the month. The Queen of Coins is one of the heads of household of that Ten of Coins, which is that really stable, fantastic household. Everybody has what they need. They have emotionally what they need, physically what they need. It's a great situation. It's however you define that. So the Queen of Coins is kind of, it's self-assurance, it's willpower. It's not, willpower feels more like the Fire Queen, but there's willpower coming off of this card. There's also willpower coming off of the Chariot card. um, this Chariot card, though, it talks about some of that energy that maybe I'm feeling coming through. There is movement toward this judgment. There's change that's happening with the Death card coming out here. So, death, the Death card means that something is ending, but something is rebuilding in its place. That's one of the neat things about this, is it's always part of this, by definition, is an opportunity for a new beginning. And here with the Judgment card, this is really about understanding where you've been and how you want to process what you've learned about where you've been. With the Chariot card, you have this almost easy, natural energy coming to you as you try to work through the things that happen in your life. Things just seem like they're falling into your lap. And it's because you're attracting it, not necessarily because it's not, I don't know how to describe the difference between the way it's going to feel, where you're going to wonder if you could do something to mess this up. The only thing you could do to mess it up is stop being the Queen of Pentacles or the Queen of Coins. And she knows she deserves it. There is still something that's not right here. And this Page of Swords is an honorable mention with a fear of jumping into something. But I feel like you're going to overcome that. I feel like the strength is still there, even though I haven't seen the strength card come out. This justice card is showing us that something's not right. It's not necessarily something that's a end of. It's not a showstopper, and it's also something that you're able to operate even though this isn't right. You're still going to be able to move forward. So let's look at what your focus can be. And we like to look at that. In every reading, we're looking at what your lessons are. Because if we're looking into what you need to know about things, we're never really looking into what's about to happen because there are so many factors that factor into that. I'm not going to be able to predict somebody's free will, and I wouldn't want to try. Plus, every time we put something like that out there, we typically get, well, here, we'll get the Four of Pentacles in reverse telling us to release the outcome. And so what we've learned to do is just stay on top of those lessons because that's where we always get redirected anyway. And the people who have come to this channel have come here because they're looking to solve problems, not just to talk about it. I mean, the thing is that the cool thing about this is you have the opportunity to think about it, talk about it, know that somebody else is going through what you're going through because you're ending up in the same collective. Here, with the Six of Pentacles. It's like it heard us talking. Um, the Six of Pentacles. In reverse talks about not having equal give and take. This was a focus area in the month of March, something that came out in the initial readings to talk about just where people's mindset would be, and it has really culminated into something very interesting, especially as we've gone into April, because now it's like it's on fire. But there's this feeling of things not quite being equal in multiple situations, and you can now see it everywhere you look, even if it's a minor inequity. And the thing is, if it's a minor inequity, a lot of times you can just do something to shift the dynamic and it'll clean things right up for you. So that's beautiful, but because now you can identify it. The tricky bit is in those big relationships, or some of you have these soulmate relationships going on. A lot of you do, and there's not so much emotional equity going on in those relationships. Um, the moon card is coming out it's coming out sideways, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it there because I feel like this is something where it's almost like the equivalent of that Four of Pentacles in reverse that comes out to tell you to release the outcome. This is very much saying you're not necessarily going to have all of the information you need. You need to be prepared to move forward with whatever inevitability. The things that you've been struggling with are not necessarily the things that you will be continuing to struggle with as you move through your situations. As you move through this crossroads that you're moving through now, just know there's another one out in front of you. The Three of Swords in reverse is saying you are learning so fast that it's starting to not even, like, as you learn new things and have these new experiences, you're working through it because of what you've learned in your previous experiences. It's not having you hold on to the pain. This is the other card I was thinking when the Three of Swords came out. I thought that it kind of felt like the Ten of Swords in reverse, where it's the pain of the past. You almost expect to relive it, and then you get there and it's not happening. That's a really neat thing. You've got that Ten of Coins, which is giving you a feeling of where you might find what you need with regard to you have the right mindset for the Ten of Coins household. And so now it's a matter of saying, okay, let's define it. Let's go ahead and think about what that means. And by the way, it might not be what it seems like it's going to be or what you would have expected it to be. There may be, I keep getting it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like about what this crossroads that you're going through right now. Just be aware that you need to keep your mind open and your communications open, and your keep going to the learning. Go back to the learning. You have the Seven of Wands here saying that your confidence may be suffering a little bit, and the Four of Swords saying, and you're healing almost as fast as you're running into issues. So this is fabulous. Keep doing this. One of the main messages that came through in the early April, the beginning of April reading, was to keep doing what you're doing, and this is it. It's like you are, you're running on top of the water, and it's you're not sinking. You're doing a great job, but you have to keep going. You've got the Three of Wands in reverse, which is that admonishment once again not to forget what you've learned. So you've got the Ace of Swords here, which represents what you've learned. The Three of Wands, though, in reverse is saying that you've already set things into motion, but you may not have the perception that you have, or you may not be thinking about it as much. So interesting. The Three of Wands is suggesting you look back behind you down that mountain one more time. So we've got a card that came out here for you from the Oracle deck. Wanted to get you an oracle card. And it says to be authentic. Your way is the only way for you. This, I feel like, encapsulates the entire thing here. You're running on top of the water. Your decisions that you make at this point, now that you're reaching a crossroads, are significant. The decisions that you're looking at have a significant impact. And so it's not small, it's not something that you can necessarily figure out in a day. But you are this running on top of the water piece over here is very significant because you're healing as fast as you can find new things to heal from. But you're not necessarily making additional ground. You're benefiting from healing that you have already done. Some of that's pretty recent. So this is kind of your first opportunity to feel out the edges, figure out which walls you have decided no longer to guard. This is an unbalanced time, but it's also a time that you're letting your emotion guard you or guide you, which is what one of the things that's been coming out. Make sure that your actions come from a place of love. That's always going to be the right thing to do. So that's I'm going to go ahead and leave it with this. This is a little bit shorter than usual, but I think it feels pretty complete. It's another good reading. It's not as it looks like there's a lot of work to do, but you're already in the middle of doing the work, and it's a lot of intensity. It's hard to maintain. You're asked to continue to maintain it because you are staying on top of the water. You are doing a great job. Continue and be authentic. Remember what you've learned or what's been put in front of you may take a little while to absorb some of that. So tomorrow, like I said, we'll do the soulmates version of this, get in a little bit deeper and just kind of see what's happening with the second half of the month there. But this is what's happening from that broader perspective. So thanks so much for being with me. If this was relevant to you, please do subscribe and keep checking it out. And I look forward to seeing you again in another reading.